Hello and welcome to the Future Food Finance podcast. My name is John Reynolds, the host. This week we've got another great guest. We are joined by Tomáš Kubeš, Head of Strategic Project at Bene Meat Technologies, which is a Czech startup which is developing cultivated meat for the use in pet food. So thanks very much for joining us, Tomáš. You are very welcome. Can we just kick things off? Can we just get an overview of your career today and also a bit more about Bene Meat Technology, which I hope I've pronounced right?
All right. Yes. Hello, John. Hello to everyone. Thanks, John, for inviting me to the podcast. And hello, everyone again. As John said, I am Thomas and I'm responsible for what we call strategic projects. But I would generally say that at Bene Meat, I'm primarily responsible in making sure that the works of scientists meet kind of the need of business, like connecting the two worlds and making sure that what the scientists do actually is interesting for the customer.
Okay, that's fantastic. So give us we've done podcasts before about cultivated meat, which I'm sure the listeners are familiar with. So at the moment, there's this global race going on to develop commercially viable cultivated meat for humans, which for those that don't know, we're talking about meat developed from animal cells and not via traditional the raising and slaughter of living animals. But perhaps less is known about cultivated meat for pet food, which is your area. Can you just, a good starting point perhaps is why have you gone down the pet food angle and not the, look to develop cultivated meat for humans then?
So thank you, John. This is actually a great question. And basically, it all comes to my role and kind of figuring out where the products of our company would be most used and judging all the risks. So for us, it would be primarily like a business decision, because we would say that the meat we would be offering to our four-legged friends would be exactly the same type of meat we would be in the same quality of cultivated meat that we would be offering to humans. So it's really like about the choice, and it's about the expectations of customer, about the market readiness, and about the path to market. And for us, when we were looking what to do, we were considering all the different options. It kind of turned or occurred to us that maybe starting with the steak might not be the best way to market, that in the end, growing a cultivated steak would be the holy grail, something that would be totally awesome, but it's also super hard. And we were kind of considering who might be the best customer for the meat and what would be the best benefits of cultivated meat. And when we were looking at it, we thought that maybe actually our four-legged friends and their owners might be actually appreciating more and would be more happier about the early cultivated meat products than actually a human customer would be.
Okay, that's very well explained. Thanks, Thomas. So you started out looking at developing cultivated meat for humans, and then you've kind of decided that was too hard, and you've diversified, looking at the pet food market, which listeners should know that's a massive market, isn't it? I think it's valued at like $150 billion, and it's growing. I think it's grown significantly each year, and it does come with kind of big environmental problems and hazards. So in a way, it's as ripe for disruption as the human cultivated market is.
Exactly. I think, John, you said it very well. The market for pet food is large. It is growing very well. And for us, for example, what I wanted to say, there is like one thing that in pet food space, customers are already used to what we now call hybrid products, which generally would be meat product combined with plant-based product. Because for pets, when you're buying a pouch or can, you're often buying a complete diet, which often is then consisting of or other products than meat. So, for example, for us, when we would be entering the market and we would be selling product that is part composed of cultivated meat and part composed of plant-based nutrients, then this is something that is completely normal. And the pet food buyers already understand that such product is great. It kind of provides overly well nutrition good nutrition. Whereas, for example, if we would be cultivating a schnitzel and we would suddenly be putting something else than meat into a schnitzel, then the customer would need to be explained why this product is good.
Okay, that's very well explained. Thank you. So, just give us an indication of where you are in the state development, because there's been lots of debate about whether cultivated meat, I'm talking cultivated meat for humans now, can ever truly be scaled. I know there's been, I think, there's been approval in Singapore and has the US now, but there's still question marks about the sheer expense of these developing cultivated meat in these giant bioreactors. So, can you talk about what state is the process all done in house, and can you talk about kind of what stage of development you're at the moment?
Thank you. This is good question and important topic because there is lots of contradicting information on it. So to make things clear on the side of Bene Meat, we are a fairly large company. We are having everything in house. We have like now almost 90 people. So we want to build and scale up the thing ourselves. And we actually think this is the key to making this commercially viable. Because John, you're completely right. If you buy what is on the market, which would be the equipment that has so far been primarily developed for brewing medications or for doing pharma grade things, then using this to actually cultivate a food grade stuff like meat would not make economically sense. In fact, it was one of my roles to calculate this at Bene Meat. However, if you look at this and you would be looking at food grade ingredients and food grade machines that would be perfectly fine for making meat, then the economy should be working out. And suddenly the prices should be compatible with the price level of the final product, that is meat. So we really believe that this is possible. Of course, it's not easy because you will really need to bridge the gap between using club grade technology and making sure that everything works with the food grade technology. But if you then get to the levels and get to the price levels that you see for food grade machinery, then the prices for cultivated meat will start coming out just right, and it would make perfect economical sense.
Okay.
And when you ask where Bene Meat is, we started building our pilot plan that we would hope to finish by the end of this year, and this should have capacity of several hundreds of kilograms of meat per day.
Okay, that's great. And you're developing. You've got your own the media that's grown the meat. You've developed that yourself. You're developing yourself about that then.
Yes, we also include our own development of media, since media is crucial to make sure that it's completely free of animal ingredients and to get to the proper price level. This is a challenge on its own that we also decided to tackle. And now I am proud to say that our team has managed to have completely animal-free media that can be made from ingredients that are actually compatible with the product level pricing.
Okay, so just for clarity, so you're talking about four-legged friends. So this is cultivated pet food for cats and dogs. So has it been tested on cats and dogs then?
Yes, we have already started testing the meat on our companions. So most of the cats and dogs in our company has already tested the meat. This includes, also some of our employees tested, although this is not our policy, but all of our cats and dogs have already started testing it. And we are now working very frantically to make sure that we will then make longer term studies so that we can prove with hard scientific data that the cultivated pet food would be great for them.
Yeah, I was going to say how do you do that? I mean, that's kind of a long drawn out project. I mean, how do you prove? I know there's lots of studies out there. Well, I don't know, but there are studies out there which show the benefits of alternative proteins for cats and dogs.
So for us, this is super important. And first, what we have already done, we have done lots of research and lots of lab verification that our meat is clean, that it does not contain anything that is known to be harmful to pets. So On this side, we have already done our homework so that our mind is clear when we are feeding it to our four-legged friends, as I like to say. And then we would be now being sure that this should be fine. We also then want to make a long-term studies where we will cooperate with professional companies and with pet owners to really be feeding cats and dogs long-term using cultivated meat and seeing and verifying that they prosper just like on the normal food.
Okay, Thomas, that's great. So there was, I think you put out this press release at the end of last year, and there was a kind of what I would call a minor controversy. I'm not sure who was at fault, but in short, I think the press release. So this is the press release given to the media may have been kind of badly phrased, but the journalist ran with the story that you become the first company in the world to be licensed to produce and sell cultured meat as dog and cat food, when in fact it wasn't an approval. What it was, you'd actually registered with the European Feed Materials Register. Is that right? Have I got the correct reading of that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, there was a minor controversy. I'm a bit sad because it was really about wording. The essence was that we have obtained a legal market access, that by registering with the pet food, with the feed register, we are able to put our ingredient on the market for makers of pet food. So there we clearly satisfied all the regulatory requirements to enter the market. Unfortunately, when writing the wording of the English press release, somehow the word register or not approval slipped in, that someone then thought that we were trying to claim something that was not, because it is true that the process of registration in the feed register is different, and we received verification and tests from the Czech authorities, and then we did the registration on the EU level. So there was nothing like the official approval that someone thought we might be implying. But in essence, what we wanted to say and what is true and absolutely correct is that we satisfied all legal requirements to put our feed ingredient onto the market.
So is that? I'm still not fully understanding. So what in terms of the regulation process? What is there? What's the next step now? Presumably, it needs some kind of regulatory approval or some. Is it labeling, or can you just? What is the process now then to get to market?
So now we are already, fully satisfied our criteria to enter the market and put our cultivated meat ingredient as a pet food ingredient and supply it to pet food producers. And the process was primarily done by Czech authorities that have verified and certified our production process, verified that it meets all the safety criteria for producing feed ingredients, and then to share this information on the European level. We then, with the approval or with the certification from the Czech authorities, we were able to go and register in the European Feed Register.
Okay, so that means that's covering all of Europe then now, is it? Does that mean you're free to, it's past all the measures to approve throughout Europe then? That's right.
Yes, this means that we are allowed to sell our ingredients throughout the Europe.
Okay, so just talk about, how far you on with the, I guess there's quite a few stages before you kind of get this to market. I mean, are you having conversations with potential commercial partners, and what potentially, how would that model look then? And what's the kind of what is there a lot of interest in there from producers and manufacturers?
So our business model now is to partner with existing maker of pet food, because we believe that cultivating meat is a hard task on its own, and partnering with someone who understands its value and already has a competence in delivering fine pet food products to market would be best solution. So we are now actively communicating with partners. We are agreeing on the sample shipments and on the trials. So we are already sending our meats to the potential partners so that they can test it, so that we find the best partner with whom we will then introduce the final pet food product to the retail market.
Okay, so what's the timeline on this, Thomas? What's the expected timeline?
We now, as I said, we will now be focusing on the testing. So all the meat output that we have now, we will be using for testing to really make sure that we have lots of hard data to be, to prove to everyone that it's perfectly safe for your pets to eat. And we think that by the end of this year, this will be complete. And with that, we will be very proud to go to markets and to provide the first cultivated pet food, and also to provide all the assurance that you can buy it with clean mind, that you are buying something that is sustainable, ethical, and also perfect for your pet.
Okay, that's very well explained. So you're part of. I was going to ask about the funding you've had to date. So you're part of the Czech Medical Devices Group, BTL Group. So can you talk about, obviously, we've kind of written lots of stories about the sheer expense of bringing cultivated meat to market. How much? Can you talk a bit about the funding you've had to date?
That's a good question. I have to admit that in this case, we are proud to have the Czech medical manufacturer BTL as our strategic investor. But so far, we have agreed not to disclose the funding details. So the only thing I can say is that we now have almost 90 people in our team, and we have 700 square meters lab facilities, and that we have been working on this project already from 2020. So if you do the math, it's clear that was not, the funding required to achieve this was not small.
Yeah. Okay. So, going back to your original point, if hopefully this works out for you and it's a big success, and then hypothetically you could revert back to the original idea of cultivated meat for humans too.
Exactly. You said it perfectly. It's greatly said. Our general aim is really to cultivate meat. And for us, really, the fact to sell first products to the four-legged friends is really just like a business decision on the general process to provide an alternative way of creating meat, and ideally for everyone. For everyone who would be interested, we hope to create a way to grow a meat that is like real meat, but grown in an alternative way that is more ethical and more sustainable.
Okay, last couple of questions. How obviously you're optimistic about cultivated pet food for our four-legged friends. More broadly, are you optimistic about cultivated meat for humans? Obviously, as I mentioned before, there has been some backlash about people questioning whether it can truly be scaled, and the sheer expense, and some people even question the kind of environmental benefits. But are you positive on the industry as a whole, or do you see kind of the real sweet spot being cultivated pet foods?
We are totally optimistic about the industry as a whole. We understand that, of course, as with anything new, people are suspicious. But in this sense, I am a believer in hard data, and I believe as the first companies are really ramping production to industrial scale, there will just be hard numbers to prove that cultivating meat is more environmentally sustainable and that it just offers an alternative to creating the animal-like protein without the animals, so that for people who would like to eat animal protein but would want not like animals to die for it, that the cultivated meat will be a nice alternative that would be desired. And this would not be forcing everyone to switch. It's really, we see it, we want to provide an alternative for those who already want an alternative, as I believe there is lots of people that would be happy to. And we would not be planning to take like the classical meat away from those who do not want to. We really believe that everyone has free will, and we believe that what we are offering is alternative to those that are interested in an alternative.
Okay, and sorry, you mentioned this before. So when it gets onto the when it's actually sold, you said it would be a similar price. It wouldn't be more expensive then, or is it? Can we kind of, is that too far down the road?
I believe that in the long run, there is no reason for the cultivated meat to be more expensive than real meat. It might actually even become cheaper. Of course, when you have the first product on the market and you're really having all the costs of developing it and entering the market, I would not want to promise that it would be priced exactly as meat. But what I am saying is there is no biological or physical reason for cultivated meat to be more expensive than real meat, because in essence what we do is the transformation of one type of nutrients, which would be plant-based proteins, to another type of nutrients, which are like animal-like proteins, and the cultivation is doing it much more efficiently than animals. The fact that for now we have huge costs on hardwares is really just like the classical situation of the technology adoption, that at the beginning, it's not optimal and you really need to work on it for some time to achieve the efficiencies and to really make sure you get there. But really, in the long run, this is something that will totally work.
Okay, that's fantastic. And finally, I think my first question we kind of skipped over. So, what's your background, Thomas? So, where were you before joining Bene?
So originally by training, I've studied economy and computer science. And for some time, I actually worked in CERN, in the European Laboratory for Nuclear Research. But from there, I was slowly going through startups. I went through several deep tech startups, and I moved more from the technology side to the place where I am now, on the border between the business and technologies, trying really to facilitate the communication between the scientists and the customer, and to make sure that they understand each other and that we then develop a product that the customers want to buy.
Okay, Thomas, you've been very eloquent and you've spoken fantastic English. So we're very appreciative of you taking time out to talk to us and explain what's a fascinating area. So thanks very much. And that's been the Future Food Finance podcast.